Okay, back on the Rich Fantastic channel, continuing with the week 16 game picks. Up next, we have the San Francisco 49ers at 4 and 10, traveling to Detroit to play the Lions, who are 5 and 9. For that 1 and 7 start, the Lions are 4 and 2. They've really turned their season around. Obviously, it's too late for them to make the playoffs, but it's good to see a team that had some success last year not going in the tank when they got down to 1 and 7. They continue to play well and they're making improvements, and we'll see how they finish out the season. San Francisco, it's just been a bad year all around. Injuries for the visiting 49ers. Mike Davis, the running back, is on injury reserve. Sean Drone, the running back, is out. And Torrey Smith, their wide receiver, is probable. For the Lions, Eric Ebron, tight end, is probable. Calvin Johnson, wide receiver, is questionable. Now, I look right away and I see that the 49ers, they really have no running backs left. Carlos Hyde was hurt earlier in the year. Sean Drone and Mike Davis are out. I'm not even sure who's getting the start. They really have no options in the running game, which means the game is going to be put in Blaine Gabbert's hands. He's played proficient this year. He hasn't been terrible. He's certainly given himself a chance to prove that he can play in the future and possibly get on with another team, if not the 49ers. Don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be next year. That's another discussion for another day. As far as Detroit, Matt Stafford, a lot that has to do with the team winning more is he's started to limit his turnovers. He's up to 27 touchdowns and only 13 interceptions. Has an outside shot to get to 4,000 yards in this game. It'll have to be a pretty big passing day, but certainly less than 400 yards he needs, so it's not impossible. Calvin Johnson is really going to attack this San Francisco secondary, which has not been good all season, and I don't think the 49ers offense is going to be able to keep up with the Detroit Lions in this game, because I'm expecting Detroit to put up some serious points. They did against New Orleans more than I expected, and New Orleans' defense is not great, but neither is the San Francisco 49ers, so they can certainly know how to attack these teams. And I'm liking Detroit to come out of this one pretty easily. I like the score to be 31 to 14, and I don't think 49ers offense is going to do much of anything in this game. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys at 4 and 10. They're traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills, who are 6 and 8. Injuries for the Cowboys: Cole Beasley, wide receiver; Morris Claiborne, cornerback, are questionable. Jason Witten, tight end, is probable. Tony Romo, of course, is on injury reserve, as well as Gavin Escobar, the tight end. For the Buffalo Bills, Boobie Dixon, running back, probable. Nigel Bradham, linebacker, out. Ronald Darby, cornerback, questionable. Bakari Rambo, safety, and Mario Williams, defensive end, are listed as probable. Kellen Moore is going to get the start for the Cowboys. Let's see if he can keep the offense rolling a bit as it was in the Saturday night game last week against the Jets. It certainly showed more life with Kellen Moore in the game. He made a few turnovers, as you would expect for a guy making his first NFL game appearance. Buffalo has got to be disappointed. They've really fizzled out here towards the end. Tyrod Taylor, again, having a decent year, not throwing the ball much downfield, but does only have 5 interceptions. Sammy Watkins, we'll see if he's able to attack against this Dallas secondary. As bad as the year has been for the Cowboys, certainly their defense, their defensive line, as well as their secondary, has actually been playing pretty well in the absence of Tony Romo, as they've been going through this tough stretch without him. They've given them some leads, but for the most part, throughout the game, they've played pretty well. Uh, I don't really know where to go with this game. I don't expect Dallas to do much. Buffalo, I wonder if they're really disappointed and come out a little sluggish because they didn't finish off the season well. They're eliminated from the playoffs yet again. So it's going to be interesting in that regard. The Cowboys, I expect they are going to come out and try to play hard. And I'm not sure about Buffalo. I mean, both these teams are professionals, but you just never know. I still can't pick the Cowboys to win. It's just not their year, obviously, this season. And they've lost a lot of close games. I think this will be another one. And even if Buffalo is sluggish out of the start, they can still certainly win a late game against the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have shown really no reason to believe they can win these close games. So I'm taking the Buffalo Bills 24 to 20 in this game over the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, next up, Chicago Bears at 5 and 9, traveling to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers, who are 6 and 8. Injuries for the Chicago Bears first, Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver, and Eddie Royal, wide receiver, is doubtful and questionable, respectively. For the Buccaneers, Vincent Jackson, wide receiver, is out. Chris Conte, the safety, is doubtful. Tampa Bay, is obviously striving to get to 500. They've certainly improved very much under Jameis Winston this year. He's started to limit his turnovers as well, and it's really helped his team. Doug Martin having a sensational season, well over 5 yards per carry. Almost, I believe, right at about 5.5 yards per carry, but again, only the 5 touchdowns. Mike Evans has done a good job receiving the ball for Tampa Bay. Chicago does have a pretty good secondary with Tracy Porter back there. They play well, so that'll be an interesting matchup. We'll see if Mike Evans can eliminate the drops. Chicago, of course, got back in it at 5-6. They've now lost 3 straight games. They had 2 heartbreakers, and that has really taken the wind out of the sails significantly for the Chicago Bears going down the stretch here. So they're not. I don't know what to say about Chicago. I mean, anything's possible, but you just figured that they've lost all their life coming out of it. John Fox is a good coach, but I don't see this team responding. Tampa Bay certainly is going to be playing for a lot. They're definitely trying to win. They're trying to build something. They were the worst team in the league last year. So I'm expecting Tampa Bay to win pretty easily in this game. We'll see if Jay Cutler has some magic in him and he can just start winging it downfield and possibly get in a shootout with this team. I expect a pretty high scoring, but I'm expecting that Tampa Bay is going to run away with it, and I like it 35-24 in favor of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, next up, we have the Carolina Panthers at 14-0, traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons. We're 7-7. The Falcons still in the playoff race, but it's really looking bleak for them. They have to win out, and Minnesota has to lose out. Or Seattle could lose out as well. Injuries for the Panthers: Jonathan Stewart, running back, questionable. Ted Ginn Jr., wide receiver, probable. Cam Newton, quarterback, probable. For the Falcons, Tevin Coleman, the running back, is out. Paul Wardle, the linebacker, is probable. For Atlanta, they got off to that 5-0 start. They're 2-7 since then, really crashing back to earth. There's a lot of talk between Josh Norman and Julio Jones going on this week. We'll see. We'll hope that it's certainly nowhere near as contentious as it was with Odell Beckham Jr. and the game doesn't get out of hand. I expect the officials to be looking for that. Greg Olsen, of course, having a very good year. The tight end, over 1,000 yards, over 70 receptions, 7 touchdowns. Cam Newton's done a good job of spreading the ball around. Ted Ginn has double-digit touchdowns this year, and that certainly is shattering his career high. For the Falcons, Matt Ryan has been turning the ball over a lot. He only has 18 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, while he's close to 4,000 yards. 18 touchdowns to 15 interceptions is not good. You figure with that yardage, he'd certainly have more touchdowns. The interceptions aren't necessarily brutally high, but when you're throwing that much, you're going to get some interceptions. But I'd like to see more touchdowns in that regard. We know Carolina's going to like to run the ball. Jonathan Stewart having a good year. Probably is going to go over 1,000 yards in this game. Cam Newton can also run the ball as well. It's going to be very interesting. Is Carolina going to go 16-0? Well, I've picked against them the last 3 weeks, expecting they're going to lose. I said I thought I was making a mistake against the Giants. It turns out I was. And I just don't think I can do it again. And lo and behold, this will probably be the game the Panthers lose. But I'm not going to go against them here. Julio Jones will have a big game against Josh Norman. But it's going to be Josh Norman's going to get his, so to speak. So Julio Jones will put up the numbers. Josh Norman will still play well at times, break up a few passes. And Carolina's going to get this win. I like it to be 30-27. I think Atlanta is going to come out and be really game. They're playing for the playoff lives. But Cam Newton's going to find a way to win the game yet again. And remain undefeated for the Panthers. All right, next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 9-5 travel to Baltimore to play the 4-10 Ravens. Pittsburgh obviously in that 3-team race for the 2 wildcard spots at 9-5 with the Jets and the Chiefs. Injuries for the Steelers, none listed for them. For Baltimore, only one listed. It's Marlon Brown, the wide receiver. He is out. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a division game against 2 teams that are rivals. Baltimore, I expect them to come out and really play hard. They'd like nothing more than to put a dent in the Steelers' season here, possibly keep them out of the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting. Jimmy Smith against Antonio Brown. I would expect it to be the matchup, though. Jimmy Smith, the cornerback for Baltimore, who's a bigger cornerback, that is, may go against either Marcus Wheaton or Martavis Bryant, 2 bigger receivers there, and maybe they'll just double team Antonio Brown. It's going to be very interesting. Antonio Brown is having a sensational season. You really have to consider him for the MVP. Over almost 120 catches at 116, 1,586 yards, so he's going to go over 1,600 yards in this game. 4,000 yards, highly unlikely unless he has just a monster game one of these 2 weeks, but only 9 touchdowns. I expect him to go into double-digit touchdowns. He's been sensational. That entire receiving core for the Pittsburgh Steelers has been sensational. But I think that the Ravens defense is gonna get it done. Jimmy Smith will have a big game. Can Jimmy Clausen lead this team to victory? I don't think he would do it many times, but I do believe that Baltimore is going to win this game and get the upset against Pittsburgh. I just, I have no real reason but a hunch here that Baltimore wants to really hamper Pittsburgh's season. They have nothing much to play for, and I believe they are going to get the job done in this game. I like Baltimore in a low-scoring affair. I like it to be 23-21 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens in this game. Alright, so that is the rest of part 2 for the Week 16 picks. We will be back just a little later to finish out the rest of the week. And be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you very much.